Innovative Lighting Designs, and welcome to Innovative Lighting Designs. Before I proceed, I just wanted to brief everyone up about the installation that we have outside. It's in the spirit of Diwali. We have a moonlit effect. We have a GoPro projector with like a blue filter projecting the Tree of Life. And along with that, we have an installation outside right as you enter. It's basically a hug of light. So it's a fire effect, but it's a hug of light, so you can actually go hug it and take a picture as well. I highly encourage it. And so this is basically Light Talk. It was a mission for us to educate or express like how lighting can actually transform a space. It doesn't have to be through just the design, even through technology. And usually we like having such esteemed panelists, sharing insights about what is going on in the industry, how they use lighting to conquer some challenges, and so on. And Pranya is going to introduce the topic and take this forward.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A very, very warm welcome to another edition of Light Talk. As Aravind said, with Light Talk, what we really aim to do is create awareness about the vital role light plays, not only in experiencing architecture, but also enhancing one's well-being and creating a sustainable future. So today's conversation is very, very special for us, and we talk about transforming spaces through architectural lighting. It is such a pleasure to have with us such an esteemed panel. Thank you so much, everyone, for doing this. And we really look forward to hearing your thoughts and opinions on this very interesting topic. And we hope you guys also enjoy the conversation. Now, before I hand things over to Sai and let him introduce all our panelists, I would like to introduce Sai, who has very kindly agreed to moderate this session. So Sai trained and practiced as an architect prior to focusing on the unique relationship between light and built environment. His postgraduate degree in illumination design has combined deep understanding and experience of design and lighting equipment. He gained international experience in lighting design by working on a variety of projects ranging from heritage, hospitality, retail, commercial, and residential projects. His move to Singapore was to expand his portfolio and join a company such as Illuminate. Not only guaranteed a high caliber of projects, but also opened the opportunity to run the India office of Illuminate in 2012. Sai currently runs Tungsten Studios in India and collaborates with Illuminate for the India projects. His portfolios include major hotels, corporate offices, malls, and so much more. Thank you, Sai, once again for doing this, and we really look forward to the conversation today.
Thank you.
Over to you.
Okay. So I believe you all know the panelists, but I'll just give a brief introduction about each one of them. Mitu Mathur, Director GPM, Architects and Planners. She's an accomplished architect and an urban designer with extensive experience in designing public, institutional, master planning and housing projects. As the Director of GPM, she has been steering the firm's growth since 2006. It's a collaborative and interdisciplinary approach towards architecture and planning. Next is Rudraksh Charan, co-founder of 42mm Architecture. Rudraksh is an experienced designer and one of the founding principals of 42mm Architecture, a multidisciplinary practice specializing in architecture, interior design, urban design and master planning. Driven by the desire to depart from conventional models, the firm is constantly at work on research, development and implementation of innovative and efficient design strategies, operations and details. Next is Vaibhav Dimri, principal and co-founder of Anagram Architects. As a principal and co-founder of Anagram Architects, Vaibhav's desire to experiment with new ideas deeply influences his design process. He guides the practice by continuously pushing boundaries through material innovation and reimagining the program towards creating avant-garde solutions. His lifelong passion for theatre is reflected in his understanding of subtleties in spatial design. That's Vaibhav. Nitin Kohli, founder and principal director, Nitin Kohli Home. Nitin Kohli Home is a versatile design company. As a founder and creative head of the brand, he is known for his enduring, modern, familiar, intimate and explicit design form. Recently in 2021, Nitin Kohli Home also launched its line of luxury tableware and smoothing home fragrances under the label of Maka Collective. So yeah, So that's the introduction. I think today we'll just have a light talk, just about, very generic about lighting, nothing really specific. The topic being transforming spaces through architectural lighting. To me, if you ask, 80% of our perception or visual perception is through, light. So, and the way we see a space, architecture, interiors, it's all the perception is dependent on light. So, but what I've always, I was telling you earlier, my generic experience always is it ends up being what's the lux level, the lux levels in a space. But so I just wanted to understand from all of you what it should be, or is it more than that, and is perception, the user emotions, all these more important than all the basic generic lux level requirements of a space or something like that. So maybe you can.
Yeah, so architectural lighting, I'll take a slightly different approach. Let's talk about architectural lighting during the day, where there's no artificial light.
Yeah.
Let's talk about sun as the source of light. And all of you been to Jantar Mantar? Yeah. And do you experience architectural lighting there? You see the patterns of the columns when the sun falls and there's a plain wall and it creates a zebra stripe and it enhances the perspective of how that space is being utilized. Yeah. I think that is the transformation of what architectural lighting can also do. It's not just layers of light through artificial lighting. It's also, understanding sunlight. And we, as architects and designers, we try to understand lighting in a very fundamental way. If, this is a terrace where you're going to get winter sun, and this is the terrace you're going to get summer sun, and this is where you're going to get shade, and that's the north side and the south side. This is where your passive gain of sun is going to be low. But we never try and perceive what the three-dimensional space can do with just the play of light and shadow, where there's a material that you're using which behaves brilliantly when sun is grazing it. At the same time, it completely transforms when the light becomes ambient and there's no direct light. Think about a courtyard where two faces are receiving the sun and two faces are not receiving the sun. And the faces that are not receiving sun are the same material, but have completely different spatial quality. So, yeah, I think it is fundamental. It's always been there. It's not as if we don't know about it, but it's just that many a times we lose direction of the very fundamental things. We understand architecture and design through form, space, scale, symmetry, geometry, but I think light is also as integral as all of these things.
Quite agree with you, because while you were talking about the two faces of the same material and how the light varies and it gives you a different dimension. I'll give you a very simple example, because how we use our phone cameras nowadays, right? For everything that we want to do, photography basically. So, and then we try to send out a sample picture to our clients with our phone camera. And then, as architects and designers and everybody, all of us here, when we send those pictures out and they say, "Nahi, ye to bahut dark lag raha hai. I want a better color," or "This is very light." But you've seen the authentic product.
Right.
It's the lighting when you're shooting which has gone wrong. It's such a simple example to give, that how talking about the importance of your light. But it's a very basic example to give that how important your light is. So before you take that picture, make sure that the lighting is correct on that product, then send it out. So you just mentioned, and he also said that it's nothing new to know about. Everybody knows about it, but we don't recognize it.
Yeah.
This is something that you rightly said, that yes, it has to be taught, has to be an integral part of your design, and then only you can take it forward to the next level. Even in our company, just giving you an example again, the first thing which we hit upon after we've chosen, of course, the layouts and everything, is your lighting with our clients. We don't keep it for the last, we don't keep it for the end or middle. It's the first thing. You know, how you've done your placements, you've got your layouts done. Next is lighting. Before you go on to even automation, you go on to air conditioning, HVAC, anything. No, it's lighting that you would need to hit that first. So, importance of lighting, whether it's architectural, whether it's interiors, you know, it's landscaping, wherever you go, I think it's very much there now. And yeah, another fact that the clients, you said, they'll just talk about the lux level.
It's a common thing because I think, like you exactly said, it needs to be educated, or else it always draws up to being how much light level do I get here, or is that visually in. It's to me, frankly, if you're in a space, it's the perception. You might like a space brighter, you want it more, and I might like it like really dim. So it's the perception, the user there. So education, maybe that's the only.
For clients, it's also very quantitative.
Quantitative,
you know.
exactly.
So, and
So
quantitative is very.
I feel, there's an association of what they have been living in. Right? And typically, if it's a first time residential client, for example, they would be living in a typically wall mounted tube light or multiple light fixtures, and for them that's the light level they are associating the lighting with. So I think we have to we have to really travel a long distance from there, but
I'm suffering a bigger challenge when it comes to lighting, because when we get our projects, especially in government projects, there is no budget allocated to lighting at all. So
in residential also, I don't think
it's like, no, they don't even consider that there should be some light, because you know the volume is focused mostly on the concrete and steel quantities. So whereas my main endeavor is to always push experience first. So whenever we talk about any project or give any presentation, for me, showcasing that this is an experience that a user will entail when they enter your space, or this is the experience they will see when they're crossing your building. So for me, when I'm talking about that, bringing in the element of lighting at the concept presentation, like you said, that we have to educate them that this is something that one should look at, is very, very important. Otherwise, we are done with the BOQs and the tenders, and lighting is just not even talked about. So it's a very important consideration.
No, I think that's what even we've learned as
You were stressing about lux, she's stressing about being
No, but now that
Yeah.
she said about cost,
And
it's an interesting thing, because I always also saw something is, you design a project, there is a budget. I have seen mostly, at least for architecture, interior, and lighting somehow at the end is the one which is cut.
Yeah.
Is it not something you try
No,
to
but
put
I
it
think that's
along
what-
with the whole
So
package,
that's-
that you cut
No,
something, you
so
cut everything?
See, that's what I am saying, that we, I have also learned it a hard way.
Yeah, exactly.
That you know, now when we talk about our concepts and an experience, we make sure that the lighting aspect is integrated in it. For example, if we're showing a walkthrough of a building, and so we make sure that we emphasize the evening wherein the lighting can be shown, that this is what we want to see when the evening, at the evening time, what the experience will be.
Yeah, very interesting,
Or
because you know, when you talked about the walkthrough, so I think we all practice the same. We're giving our walkthroughs, we're giving our 3Ds, we're not showing the day moods.
No, we are. So what I'm
No,
trying to say that, so you're right in the sense the earlier, and also because our renderings have become better
Yeah.
through the ages.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
what has happened is that earlier we were only showing day views because the night renders used to come very bad.
Very bad,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, thanks to the softwares
Yeah.
now that
So
we
now,
can,
and so then we were doing night renders, and they were obviously, any builder will only put night photos because day photos look very bad. You know, ugly buildings look good at night. So, but what we're trying to do is that even in our interior or all the thing, we are actually designing our lighting thing and actually putting the right lighting levels which we are imagining. Not creating lux, but trying to create the kind of mood we want to create through those lighting.
augmenting.
Yeah, so that we can tell them this is the experience we want to create through this lighting.
Yeah.
And lighting is a very, very important part of our interior design and the architectural design now. Architecture is mostly about daylighting and how the natural light filters in, all of that. But also when we're talking about elevations, it's about facade design at night. but the entire sort of how a bedroom or how a corridor or how a hotel, restaurant, or what kind of lighting levels in terms of the experience that is creating. If it's a happy place, what is the experience? If it is a bar, what is the experience? So all of and that is all now, and we are trying to discuss this through light, because see, the architecture is also becoming, and the interior surfaces are also becoming minimal.
Yeah.
So there is lighting which sort of plays.
Absolutely.
Also,
then
one more thing, like when he mentioned about daylight washing materials, and you kind of see it differently. Do you try to mimic it at night? Really, you like to do it, or you think of artificial lighting as a different thing when it becomes night? Like,
Yeah,
do you want to
artificial light
show
is
the
an opportunity. There's no reason why we should mimic it. We can create something better or something
Right.
different.
No,
you
it's
know.
basically it's a drama you want to create. So there is a drama you create through the natural light, and there's another drama you create with the artificial light. You choose whether the drama somehow takes the story forward or creates a new story, depending on the project, depending on even the site, or depending on even the space. So
I
sometimes
think
the
there's
space.
no comparison between the natural light
Exactly.
and this, because the natural light is going to flood it anyways, and the evening is the only time you can actually play with your lighting.
Yeah.
I mean, just so to say that nobody gets attracted towards darkness. It's only light that is going to actually attract you. So how you play with that attraction is in your hands. And you being an expert here, I mean, nobody knows better than you.
No, because this
No,
is something
for-
I also try to ask. I mean, like
Yeah.
when I work with architects, I want to understand, you really want to mimic it, or you want a real experience. This is something, but I see it missing at many places where, there is no correlation, or it's not even about new experience at night. It's kind of messy. So it's a personal question. I keep asking, but
No, so
it does
I'll
make
tell you
sense.
an interesting story where we were doing the facade of a mall, like a commercial place, and the clients wanted us to see some examples which are inspiring for them. All the building projects that they showed were of either some streets in Singapore or
Exactly.
somewhere in Hong Kong, and all of them were dominated by super lit facades. The dynamics of lighting is what is facade to them. So for us, we told them that maybe you don't need us, maybe let's just work with a lighting consultant, because it's
No,
more
you
of
don't need a
dynamic.
lighting consultant.
So
Maybe
we
you
will
just
talk
need
about
the
it
pictures.
No, but what I'm saying is the dynamics of lighting is becoming a very integral part of design, wherein you mimic any pattern which is already existing by daylighting, or you create a new story, is something that is up to us as designers. But we are definitely now as a community not shying away from looking at lighting or looking at media or looking at dynamism in the facades or in the spaces with the use of light.
Also,
So it's very welcomed now.
No, I have seen all of your work. It's amazing. So one other thing I felt is, so as a project, when you start architecturally, you have a design done, you have a budget in place, and seeing your finished project. So did you have the lighting also controlled in a way that it gives you the effect, or is it left to being diluted at the end? But
So I'll say,
See, the dilution starts after the concept design.
But that does happen only with lighting, or it happens with your
Everything.
or
It happens
or
with
when an
everything.
he
EPC
said it in
contractor
a
comes
sentence, I was just going to elaborate the same.
so the lighting gets
He was blunt
diluted.
about it. Yeah, but the same thing happens. You start with everything, obviously later on budget guides everything. Now what happens with lighting, I'll tell you, we all know there are different kind of lighting. There's decorative lighting, there's aesthetic lighting, or whatever kind of lighting you want to have. What does the client understand? As a layman, he only understands decorative lighting. कि मैंने ये chandelier ले लिया, मैंने ये drop light ले ली. This is what
Exactly.
appeals to them. I mean, it could be very, very pretty,
Yeah.
and they'll go for it. They are not going to understand that why is that plant lit up and how is that plant lit up. They will only admire the plant there. They're not going to admire that, look, that's the source of light and that is what is actually enhancing the beauty of the plant.
But
So that's why his thing, it dilutes towards the end, and then our role then comes, and look, we really need to push them. We need to say,
You have to
look,
keep adding in
adding
between.
on that, yes,
So
you
that
have to do this.
It get diluted.
Or
you keep
balance.
adding.
reduce somewhere else to
So
increase.
basically, I think you need to get them to see things, right? Like, so maybe
Exactly.
experience,
Yeah.
you know, places like this which are very rare. I mean,
Yeah,
from
I
what I
agree.
have seen, which
Yeah.
at least can show
think
something.
You can see it in even the awareness of understanding a design from a client in past, I would say 10 years, because people have traveled a lot. They've seen designed spaces and non-designed spaces, so they understand what is the difference between a designed space and a non-designed space. Similarly, when they go to a place and you make them aware with the client that okay, this is why this space is looking amazing. It's obviously material and design and space, but you look at the lighting, and when you make people aware that this is an important part, it's the you for any project in architecture and interior design, you spend 2.5 years with the client. You have enough time to
Develop a relationship.
Develop
Break
or
up,
break.
make up.
everything happens in the 2.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But there's another aspect to it, you know. So we are using light as, I would say, we have a product and we are using light for the product, but we can also start looking at light as the product. Suppose I'm selling something, I'm selling a concept to a client where, you know, it's a beach shack which is very nicely flooded with light. So what we can say is that this is the open part, that's the closed part, and this closed part is going to mimic the open part in terms of natural light, and then it can transform towards the evening with another layer of lighting and completely change the ambience of the space, and towards the night completely change the ambience of the space just by lighting. So architecturally it will be very difficult to make a hybrid space where things are moving or surfaces are changing and this and that, but in terms of lighting it's much more easier. Now if you can sell that, that becomes a prime.
It's like
Yes.
if you go
That's
and,
the product.
you go and watch
I
a
agree.
play.
Yeah.
You go and watch a play. In a regular stage, you create Paris to you create a slum, right? The
Yeah.
same space with just the lighting. And stage lighting is where I think one has to get inspired from in terms of lighting design.
It's incredible.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
They know where to focus, where
Yeah.
to, you know,
Yeah.
how to
And how
attract
to
the
highlight
audience.
and
How
how
to
to
highlight,
sort of
capture
create
in
the
a given
effect.
space,
Yeah.
create
In fact,
multiple
there's a
effects,
place
absolutely.
in Tokyo. It's called the Mori Museum of New Art,
Okay.
and it's completely three-dimensionally projected map internally. So they map the entire space. You could be in a forest, you could be in a rainforest, you could be in a desert. It's nothing. It's an empty signifier. It's a white box. Just the environment is getting projected, and the light is the primary object over there. To you know, to a level that if you're standing, you don't cast a shadow.
Yeah.
You know, so they mapped it to that level.
No, that's the experience, right? What you were talking is also you're trying to sell experience. Light becomes an experience you want to sell. But then again, the question I was trying to ask earlier,
The lux level.
not the lux level, the experience can come only with a good quality light. Light at the moment there's so much of, you know, with LED there's so much of LED and various price ranges, like you said, from, you know, like a very basic to some lakhs. How do you you know, in your perspective, how should you consider what is good light or what is not a good light fixture? Because the experience will surely matter. In your render it might be a good experience, but when you try to deliver it with the product, it affects everything. It may not be the experience what you're trying to do. So
So,
what's
know,
your approach
well,
on that?
The problem with us is that most of the Indians, they want a very high lux level in their homes. This is one problem. That's why when you said tube light,
No, I think
No, the
most
old
of the
concept of
Indian
tube
want
light
light
is that
fixture.
light कर
One
दो,
light से सारा कमरा जल
Sara
जाए.
kamra jal jaye. Exactly. Yeah.
They don't want that there is some light here,
Right.
then there is a table
Right.
lamp which is doing something. There is
They
a
don't
wall.
understand the layering.
They don't
Yes.
understand the
Yeah.
layering.
Yeah.
They want कि एक light एक button on किया मुझे सब दिखना चाहिए. That's a very strange
Yeah.
thing, but that's
No, but I
how it
believe they
works.
listen to architects, right?
They
To
do.
an
Yeah.
extent. So
To an extent.
I mean, like if there is
To an
education,
extent only, yes.
yeah, I mean, like
Yeah.
at least.
But I think
in terms of
I think the question which you're asking about how do you judge
a fixture,
a
basically.
fixture, it's difficult. I
Yeah.
also really, to be very frank, you will tell us.
No, what
No,
do you
but
do?
I
mean, like,
really want to listen to what Nitin was trying to explain.
no, what do you do when there's so much I believe there'll be many people approaching you with, like so much of LED, so much of lights.
You were talking
How
about the
would you
volume of
approach
light.
it onto
Most
your
of the
product?
Indians.
See, what I said was that most of the Indians, they love very, very high lux level. In a layman, now they know the word lux level. Okay? So they always want a lot of brightness. That is one challenge which we face. Second challenge which we face is, हमारे को white light चाहिए. Okay, that's a huge challenge. Huge. Now we find it very, very difficult, hard to convince them that even if you are living, and fortunately now there are means. Okay, you can change the temperature.
Temperatures,
All right, of the same light. So if I walk into that room, they'll make sure that that the lux levels which I want or the colors which I want, they are there. And I'll tell you another very important thing which I experienced in one of my projects. Sitting in my showroom, we selected the fabrics. Okay, we shortlisted all the fabrics. Least we also never realized, and without informing us, the clients actually installed white lights in their bedroom. All right, बाकी area में नहीं किया, but नहीं वो we want ये वो, and without telling us they had installed.
कुछ और बन गया.
When the furniture went, now in the last 2-3 years we know how the combinations in the interiors are like beige, grey, lighter pastel shades and everything. When the white light fell on the grey fabric, it turned blue. The fabric did not have any warmth in it. And they called me over that you've installed the wrong fabric. We took the books, we took the selections, we said here it is. Same couch, we brought it out, showed them, perfectly gelling well with the beige and whatever because there was warmth in it. So you see, it's about education. The clients actually have to be educated that don't do these mistakes.
But from a converse perspective, why do, as in if somebody wants a white light, if I want to live in a white light, who are you as a designer to tell me
So
not live?
no,
So
I'll disagree.
how do you counter that?
No, I will disagree
Exactly.
with you here because I'm purely into residential interiors. All right. There are lights which are designed for commercial use. There are lights which are designed for residential use projects. And how I counter it is because we try to educate. What is our work? Our work is to educate our clients, right? That what is going to look nice. Because the same clients who are so well traveled all over, they go and they admire things here.
And they come back.
And they come back and they say, उसका घर बड़ा अच्छा लग रहा था.
No,
वो होटल का कमरा बहुत अच्छा था.
I went there.
And वो होटल में वो warm white ही था. Yeah, whatever it was 3,000.
They will never realize it. They will never realize it.
Yeah.
And ultimately they'll say कि ये करना वो करना, but we don't force people, but we educate them. And if they still do what they want, but then we should know beforehand. So that we don't make those mistakes.
Is there besides the subjective argument from a you are a lighting designer and technically is there a like objective argument you can say ये करने से तुम जैसे वास्तु बोलते हैं ना कि तुम anti-clockwise जाओगे तुम बीमार हो जाओगे.
Vastu is also equally shaky.
Frankly,
3,000 gives you positive energy.
No, something to sell it, right?
Frankly, nothing like that, but that's the best example I keep saying. Like you have spent so much on your interiors, you have seen that space, the material, fabric and all, and then you put the wrong light, or the quality of light is there where you actually don't see the product, right? And for your example about white light, people are used to being white. I mean, my personal experience, what I see a lot is more than in the north part of India, in the south part, there's still so much used to white light to a major core. So even doing high-end residential projects, they look at everything interiors during the day and feel happy about it. And then though they understand later it's not good with white. So what our approach has been more or less is trying to educate them to first use neutral white. So they get a difference from being white light to at least warm.
Say that, there's always a compromise which happens.
Yeah, so
it's
a halfway through that then they get used to seeing the space better than on the white, and then they kind of use
right
warmer
now, compromise
later.
is what you said, Nitin, that now you have automation. You can change the color.
Change the colors.
Yeah.
But there's
So
a
you have
cost
direct
involved.
With
They'll
the cost,
enjoy what
like,
they
It comes with a cost, so
That
that's
is our
something.
compromise now.
You see, when you have a formal
Comes with a
evening,
cost.
an evening like
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
you can't depend on lighting
Correct.
which has gone wrong.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I got educated even about when I was doing somebody's jewelry showroom. All right. So I said, okay, let's do the lighting. But it's not, it's a two-way traffic always. So There the client educated. He says, this is the counter, this is the space where I sell diamonds. And I do need my white lighting to fall on the diamonds.
On the diamonds directly.
All other jewelry, daylight.
Yeah.
It's a store, obviously you don't want to put too much of the yellows there and it's going to spoil their colors also. But then it's a two-way traffic, client will educate you on so many aspects, but you do need to technically also educate them. So I'll say, I mean we are not ending any discussion here, but lighting being the most important, and we sitting here, I think our experiences are much more than the client's experience, so we really need to educate
I think
them.
there is, I'm just thinking about how to sell it, and the whole point of how the day progresses is how you sell it, right?
Exactly.
A daytime, it's white, and how you wind down a yellow light makes you calmer, and you wind
In terms
down
of your circadian.
Yes,
Circadian,
exactly.
yeah.
And then that's the way you can, and then automation will work. That you can say you can actually sort of work with the.
But is this discussion something which happens with clients, like daytime
Yes,
to
I'm
night time?
sure. Oh, yeah,
after
yeah.
that?
Yeah, it does.
And they
It does.
I
get
think the
into-
kind of projects they are all doing. The
No,
clients are
even office
educated
projects.
enough,
No,
yeah.
even office projects.
Even
Yeah,
office
no,
projects.
I mean,
For
the
office
clients
projects,
are
you
mostly
need,
well informed, is what I'm
energy.
saying, who understand the language and understand the importance of difference between day and night lighting, who are well traveled. The challenge comes in projects like ours, where the client is not informed enough or they don't even understand. So I was doing like in an urban project, we wanted to tell them the importance of downlighting on a streetscape. Said nahi, lighting
Light pollution.
bright honi chahiye ताकि safety हो ये हो. Then we showed them examples of how that can also be done with dim lighting, with sensitive lighting, sensitive approach, because lighting is not just inside. We are also talking about lighting outside in the space. So how does that happen? And for that, educating the client becomes very, very challenging, because hardly people talk about it, to be very honest.
I think landscape lighting is very big.
Landscape
very,
lighting,
very
public
complicated.
lighting is very
So it becomes very
complicated.
difficult because you're talking to.
Yeah.
So I was,
Like
so
completely
we were doing the
non-designers,
railway
so.
station redevelopment project, and we were just talking about how at night time the heritage facade should be lit up and what should be done about it. So they said, इतने करोड़ के project में इतना मतलब 2 crore की lighting, it's not really worth it. I said no, if you don't do that, then इतना करोड़ लगाना भी सब waste हो जाएगा. So it's the kind of conversation. Then we showed them projects of other stations from UK and other parts like Italy and all, that this is how they are looking at their buildings as an asset for their urban public spaces. It's not just कि मैंने light लगा दी और functionality आ गई. It's about creating an asset for your own city. So I think the difference is, I've worked with private clients also in government. The difference is when people are spending money for themselves, they are ready to listen and they are ready to spend. When then the money is being spent not for them, it becomes a
It
little
should be the other
challenging.
way around, because that has a much bigger impact on people.
Yeah, but
Houses
then
have,
the
a,
decision
have
making
the
is-
least impact on people.
That's
Exactly.
where the education.
You get to talk personally with private clients versus urban, or I would say large scale
So the
developments.
same client
You
who
don't
is
really-
doing a commercial project, a mall, will care least about lighting as such. But the same client who अपना घर करेगा, then he will focus more on
Agreed.
the circadian patterns and the automations and all of that. He's ready to spend all the money on that. So, but I think the times are changing. People are at least ready to listen to different approaches towards design, about dynamics that lighting can bring in the space. So I think
we need
have
more
a
lighting
brighter future.
consultants in India.
I think
We
we have a
really-
lot.
I don't think we need more lighting consultants.
No,
I
it's
think we
like,
need more education in
we
terms of
need more education.
at a very basic level. Like when we were in college, we hardly spoke about lighting as an aspect. I don't know.
No,
youngsters
I
here
totally
are talking
agree.
about
also,
lighting
see,
here.
Also, as a see everything, when you have to get anything mainstream, large brands have to invest money,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So when the large brand starts investing money in lighting and educate, that's what will educate people in lighting, because they will talk about
Right.
lighting because see right now, earlier way the residences were or any projects were designed. Not everywhere we have false ceilings. So we have so much of services.
Yeah.
So we need false ceiling. So we need false ceiling. Then the lighting shifts from the walls. A lot of lighting shifts to the ceiling. You have obviously wall light, but a lot of lighting shifts there. And then it completely changes the dynamics of the space. So it requires a very different approach. And I think unless the entire industry, the lighting industry in itself has to take this responsibility also to, because in mass level, that is what
I totally agree. Yeah.
No, so my experience personally abroad, you have spaces like these where there was always some talks like this. When I started into lighting or into I was fresh from architecture. I have very little knowledge on lighting. You get to see things. And talks like this help. In India, I think these things are a little less, something more spaces where you can see and learn, particularly lighting. Unless you know a space, you know an architect who has been showing you around. I've also had places where times when clients ask me, like, I would want to see something, and there are very little space, and you don't get access everywhere, right? So I believe education, maybe spaces like these really help, particularly in terms of lighting.
But there's one more very big aspect now, and I'm being hypocritical over here because I do a lot of high-end luxury houses which have a horrible impact on whatever, but
except your bank.
and the client's bank. but we have a shortage of good quality lighting, accessibility to good quality lighting today. Good quality lighting is prohibitively expensive. And I'm not talking about houses. I'm talking about public projects. I'm talking about projects which can create an impact. If we need to start looking at those projects, we cannot have 8% of a project's budget going to lighting, 12% of a project's budget going to lighting. It needs to become more affordable. Companies need to start realizing that you have to agree that the amount of research and innovation that is going into automation and lighting today, there is a level of novelty associated with it. And that level of novelty is demanding a price. It needs to become more affordable so that it can penetrate into the masses. Only then we'll be able to use it sensibly.
But sometimes I feel it's overdone, that the cost is going up.
Yeah.
It could probably be, done effectively.
Precisely. His point, we need more consultants.
Yeah, exactly. So
His point, we need more consultants to be able to do a decent project in
an X budget.
Sane cost, not insane costs.
Exactly. It's accessibility, and I think in India, because it's more than accessibility, it's not many people are aware it is there because of so much of, there's a huge flood of everything which comes in.
So I'll tell you something. I'm a generalist, I'm an architect. I'm not expected to know everything about everything. Right?
Yeah.
I just need to have intent. If I have intent that my lighting in a building needs to create an impact, I need to get a lighting consultant on board.
Exactly.
So a lighting consultant, and if I'm ready to get a lighting consultant on board, then I think more or less things will fall in place apart from the, the bureaucratic jargon that needs to be resolved, but you will be able to resolve it also sometime. It's just that it is ultimately going to come to a sane cost. If it is a sane cost, then why not?
What amuses is that over the years, unfortunately, I'm the oldest amongst them all, so I can say this.
Fortunately.
Unfortunately. So, what has happened over the years is, if you remember, or when we were kids, we all were kids at that time, a house used to be built purely by a structural engineer. Even the architects were not
Or a contractor or a local contractor.
So पहले contractor, then came the structural engineer, then came an architect who would design everything for them. And over the years, gradually, it has actually changed. So people have started recognizing the importance of specialists in every field. So obviously, we do advise, whatever comes in our way, we tell the clients, look, these are the people you need to get on panel. Now we are telling people, the landscapers, you need to get them. The lighting consultants need to be there. Your plumbing consultants need to be there, depending of course on the size of the project. And that is something where, like what he said, we are generalist.
Yeah.
And we need to educate the clients that look, these are the specialists you will need to do it. This is my specialization, but beyond this, a lighting consultant is required. I think the next person on board, unfortunately, lighting is something which is not physically, you can't, it's not a
Judge it like
tangible
a
thing which you
tangible
can
thing.
hold.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't control it. And in future, Sai, if I'm not wrong, it's all about invisible lighting, right? The source of the lights are not seen. It's all, unless it's
Yes.
just a decorative piece, the
Right.
sources are not seen from where the light is coming. So it's going to get more and more difficult for the client to understand, that why is the place looking like this? So I think that's the future today.
Great.
Because in my recent travels, what I've also seen, like India, you don't see that much, but especially Dubai Expo was very eye-opening for me. Everything,
Yeah, was
every
related to
building
light.
was, the design was integrated with lighting design. It was not a separate fixture or it was not a separate ornamental object which was, put on top of a building. If there is a staircase, the light is a part of the staircase design.
Yeah.
If there is a building facade, the lighting or the strip of light or how you look at it or how it changes from day to night is a part of the design. So integration of lighting as a part of the design, I feel, is something that will change the perception. Suppose a very simple example can be a staircase. Like if the handrail is designed to have that strip going under the bar, then that's it. Then the client will have no option but to accept it and invest that amount of money. But if we say, okay, fine, we have like a huge chandelier on the dining table, then that is something that becomes a point where anybody can start cutting corners as to what chandelier we want or what. So anything that is put on the top is something that starts to diminish in its effect. But if it is integrated from day one, when I think it has more chances of seeing the light of the day than later.
No, I think when you were saying about getting more lighting designers, I think I think previously when architectural colleges were very little, you had less architects in place. Now it's probably a little bit more. Like that, in lighting there is nothing in India.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
because there is nothing in India, from the younger generations, there is
Yeah.
no way of actually getting proper lighting designers unless someone goes abroad and probably comes back. So that's
there
one
is a
thing.
reason why this is not there. It's because it's not mandatory anywhere. In our country,
Exactly.
whatever
There is
is
no-
mandatory will be taught.
Not only here,
If,
I think
if there is no mandate to have a lighting consultant on board for any project, there will never be an education. I'm sorry.
It's only
But this is how
hospitality.
it is.
I mean, like we end up doing a lot more hotels because there is a
Yes,
mandate
there
that
is
the
a
brand
mandate.
says
That's what.
you have to use a lighting consultant
Yes,
on board.
yeah.
So, and then there is a prerequisite that lighting designer is a lighting designer.
So a lot of government tenders have now started asking for acoustic consultants or
Auditoriums.
or IT, AV
hope
consultant.
lighting also comes
But
in.
lighting abhi tak nahi aaya. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
I
you
know.
have to do more lobbying for that. And that's where I will come back to what I think Rudraksh or you were saying is that we have to, the lighting companies have to start investing
yes.
and do that level of lobbying to get that mandate in place.
No, it's like
it is all top driven.
I think
you, however much we hard and
So I
have these
think
conversations, not going to have an impact.
first thing would be to open a lighting design institute or course, because once
Probably,
that
yeah.
happens, there is some sort of a recognition, and that becomes again mainstream.
Right.
It comes in the mainstream, because otherwise, right now, whosoever can afford to do a lighting design course abroad can do it.
Can do
But
it.
there is one more way of looking at it. If good lighting becomes affordable, then every project will start having good lighting and will become a prerequisite.
Yeah.
And it will percolate into government projects
Yes.
also.
And you need to just
yes.
educate the clients that hiring a consultant means you're saving money
Yeah.
in the long run also.
Because it's all interlinked. Like
Yeah.
it is affordable even today. If you have someone who can specialize and do that.
So I like your statement, affordable.
Difficult thing
Yeah.
to,
And you take your number.
Because कोई भी client किसी भी architect को hire करता
No, it
है
is-
to spend more money.
It,
He's not
I feel
saving
personally.
you know. So the problem is
Well,
that
we need to change that, no?
no,
Do-
but
do
you
we
are
need to
giving
change that?
no. The thing is, problem in India is that saving money क्या होता है? When you cut corners, you save money. If you
Yeah.
don't cut corners, you can't save money.
Yeah,
The problem
but
is the
don't
consultant.
look at capital cost, no, look at life cycle,
No,
life
I'm
cycle
saying-
cost.
Exactly, but what I'm saying for any sort of mainstream client, a consultant ka value is this, that he's telling you that consultant ka job is to give the right advice, right?
Advice.
The right advice for the client. Now, without consultant, obviously he can do a much, like a house or anybody can do a much cheaper job without a consultant because कॉन्ट्रैक्टर बना देगा घर, पर वो कितना सही बनेगा, गलत बनेगा, whether it will leak, not leak, whether it lasts long, not, that is a big question. They've now understood that. On by and large, even for a small one-bedroom house, people would want an interior designer to come and do it.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
by and large,
That's what I said. Things have changed over the years.
Completely.
They
Yeah.
need specialists to
Similarly,
come
I
and
think
do their
similarly,
process.
so it's not an idea of saving cost, it's the idea of adding value. I think it's not about saving cost, it's the idea that you realize that this consultant, this professional is adding value to me, and this value has a cost, and this which is people are ready to pay that cost if they understand the value of it. I think we need to manage to generate this value. That
So
this
just
there is
today, a very interesting thing happened by a client of mine. She came, and we are on a stage of beginning her project. And she said something which was really good for us, because she said, I just went and saw a house, and everything was very exclusive, very expensive. Things were there, but unfortunately they did not hire a specialist. So it was not looking good. So they've spent the money. It's not about
yeah.
anything else.
Yeah.
They've spent their money, but it wasn't looking good. So she said, I'm really happy that at least I'm going through you so that, I know we'll be put on the right track of buying things. And I told her, I said, it's about not buying things which are expensive, whether it's lighting also, but
The
it's
right
going to be well
value.
spent.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the value what you're going to spend for.
Also, in terms of education, educating clients, right? What my personal experience again is, there are times when we have got clients to say buy a proper quality product in a space. In their, say it's a house, say their living spaces are some good quality product versus we are okay to compromise others. And I have seen them coming back and saying, visually, because once they start living, you that's the only way I feel, getting them to know the quality of light, and then they start either doing it better next time or even changing it from what, because light in the overall scheme of things, light fixtures is very tiny, very frankly, if you look at it that way. But yeah, but in general, I think education is the only
Absolutely.
way around this.
This is definitely the future, because जैसे architects बढ़ रहे हैं, वैसे lighting designers बढ़ना ज़रूरी है भाई. And we don't have solutions for everything. We are guessing most of the time. So
So I believe any questions you want to ask, anyone has anything to
easy वाले, हाँ?
easy.
No difficult
No,
question.
everything is going to be targeted towards him. He is the consultant.
Technical तो तू ही बता.
यहाँ से पूछो. हम तो generalize करते हैं. Yeah, but sure. If anybody wants to ask anything, so.
Or just say anything.
Oh God.
Kind of hired lighting designers, right? I've never seen anybody working with the same lighting designer ever. Why is that so?
That's not the case. You do have people working with the same lighting designer.
Free budget.
Okay, so I'll tell you something. We don't understand parameters. I'll tell you. So, like lighting designers, there are also landscape architects. There are also plumbing consultants. Okay. It's important for us to understand the parameter on the basis of which we can brief a consultant for him to be able to give us the right input. That is where it goes off many a times. The ambition of the project and that of the architect and that of the client and that of the consultant need to align, and many times it's not aligned. So you have a brilliant product which is very expensive, or you have a very mediocre product which is within the budget. So वो budget में बन जाती है चीज़, वो कहता है ये क्या हो गया, और वो सपना इतना बड़ा हो जाता है कि वो unaffordable हो जाता है. So है वो एक disconnect. I think as architects we have a tendency of really trusting our consultants. ठीक है?
I think that's the right thing as well.
Huh?
I think that's the right thing as well.
No, it is the right thing. But the consultant steps in a project much later, than you. You know, you have started conceiving the project the moment the client has started briefing you, right? It is, the disconnect is in your brief to the consultant and in the consultant's, you know, I would say, transparency to be able to perceive your vision. That's it. If those align, it'll be, I don't think it's going to be
I
a
totally agree, because there are a few interior designers we work with where over years, because they have worked, we start when you are actually conceiving the idea with them, even though probably we are not on board yet, where lighting is part of the whole interior design before it's presented to the client, and that alignment actually needs to be done, and if it starts there, then probably you end up having.
I guess that's the exact disconnect, probably what we see in the Indian market, because most of the projects lighting designers have brought on board.
For the icing.
Yes, exactly.
Cake ban gaya.
While it
Yeah,
used to be at the
not
time when an architect
integrated
is
from
actually
before, right.
conceiving the concept, right? Because if they don't have the vision of the architect, right, they don't know anything. You can't work out on the detailing, you can't work on anything, I guess.
So Vikram, that is a very, very intensive, inclusive, you know, process to get everybody aligned from pre-concept stage. It's a lot of effort.
I agree.
Yeah, so, you know, just getting one more person aligned, you know, today, we cannot conceive buildings without consulting our structural engineers. Earlier, we used to make the building and tell the structural engineer, bana de. Today, you have to consult him whether it is possible to build it and not possible to build it
What
before
material?
Before
you
that, the Vastu concern.
Yeah, it's
So I
not
like it how everybody has a laugh the moment you say Vastu consultant. So we all know that, you know, we are guided so much by it, so much by it.
It's crazy.
So after this is over, na, I'm going to tell you a very interesting thing about Vastu consultant, but yeah.
We're talking about lighting.
I hope they never say, you know, you can't put the light here, that's not right as per us.
No, they can.
They can do anything.
We,
Yeah,
I think we are making a consortium, hiring 4 Vastu consultants to ensure, and we are going to make them figure out a way where they can specify lights according to energy the way we want them to
Colour
for
of the light
Pro to
also.
Vastu.
Yeah,
So I
colour
think
of
it's
the light
start
also.
doing that. Let's be wicked. Why not?
It's
already messy,
Everything is now a part of it.
Yeah.
I think what we see differently in India, because when you see other countries, right, they actually bring on lighting consultants right from the word go. So they're part of the package when somebody is bidding, or maybe, you know, they're kind of hiring consultants, because that really helps out, right? Because end of the day, for a client to understand what is right, what is wrong as far as structure is concerned, you've got so many different things in the market, right? But for a client to understand that, it's very difficult, I guess. Because I guess you are the people who can kind of educate them. Anybody else has any questions? Okay, we've got somebody.
Okay, so it's a general question. So once the project comes to you, so it has some budget you got from your client, right? So you haven't set in mind like whatever you allocate to the design, to the furnishings, but lighting is ignored at that point of time. So do you think that you should allocate some budget to the lighting at that point of time only? Because it will add a punch to your space.
Whom do you want should answer?
Any of you.
Rudraksh,
Go for
ahead.
it. No, so lighting needs to be budgeted day one. We are trying to do it in our projects now. The problem, let me explain to you, is the figures of projects have become absurd. And the figures for lighting have also become absurd. So, I can see your face. Okay, yeah. Step up. So, are you an architect?
I'm a lighting designer.
You're a lighting designer. Fine. So, I give you an example. You are doing a 25,000 square feet bungalow. You are going to allocate 1.75 crores for the lighting?
So, see, there are different ways actually. So, like we can do the mix of things, right?
But I'm just telling you that today there is a certain standard everybody wants to work at. You know, they want to put what 450, 650, 750 bucks a square feet for lighting, which is not decorative, right? And then you add decorative on, it becomes like 1200 rupees a square feet. For 22,000 square feet, it is 2.25 crores.
I think decorative lighting, you don't even convert it into square feet.
Square feet,
You'll never buy it.
नहीं, मैं तो कह रहा हूँ architectural lighting only half will run away. You put it in the budget, they'll run away. So then what do you need to do? And how do you allocate? Try and understand. You are asking me about lighting. It's the same thing with plumbing today. It's the same thing with electricals. The same thing with automation. Stone.
Interiors.
Number of TVs and number of speaker systems in a house.
Absolutely.
The per square feet cost is ridiculous. And then your per square feet cost is going to cross 17,000 rupees a square feet.
Yeah. So I think how we all begin
how will you
with the
justify
client
that?
is that we always start as a benchmark.
Yeah.
And that's how we take it. Whether it's
That's how we
any
manipulate them basically.
So you give them a benchmark and you tell
You
them, okay,
just
fine,
say that
this is what is going to fit in.
For every category, this
If
is how
I
it's
make
going
an
to be.
honest budget, you will not get your house made from me.
It's not only about you. I mean, honestly speaking, if you really start seeing every parameter, right, it depends upon how much you want to spend on every parameter.
No, I am saying basic performance-driven parameters. Performance-driven plumbing, performance-driven lighting, performance-driven electricals, structure, this, that, waterproofing.
Yeah.
You know, if I make a specification for you for waterproofing in a house, it will cost you the house. मतलब जितने में लोग घर बना लेते थे उतने में आजकल waterproofing हो रही है घरों की यार. So है ऐसे, हो गया है ऐसे. तो that's true. मतलब so budgets को manipulate नहीं कह रहा हूँ मैं. You have to give a basic कि इससे कम नहीं होगा. उसके ऊपर आपकी श्रद्धा है.
And it's about balancing. Whatever you like, let's say you have a budget in hand, like your client has a budget. Now you decide कि furniture कितने का लेना है,
allocation of
lighting
funds.
कितना,
I understand
allocation
allocation
of
of funds.
So manipulating की जगह we can say balancing of funds. We kind of balance out.
हाँ, but it is Hippocratic and critical
Yes.
at a level. Yeah.
Rudraksh, I think you were more direct.
यार तालियां बजा दो अच्छी तरह से. Somebody told me blunt, so let's be blunt.